What is up guys, it's Cal, and in this video we'll be going over how to do hard mode Tazavesh. Now hard mode Tazavesh actually slightly alters each boss encounter to be a little more difficult, but at the end it actually awards a mount, the Tazavesh Gearglider. It's a 100% for everyone in your group as long as you do hard mode Tazavesh. One thing to note before we get into how to do this, you cannot break this up into like 2 different days. You have to do it in the same day or else hard mode just messes up and you'll have to wait the next week. At least that's how it is now. That's how it was for me when I tried to do it. So anyways, there's some setup that you have to do prior to doing the hard mode dungeon. So let's talk about that first. So everyone in your group has to get the necklace Passively Forged Credentials before doing the hard mode of this dungeon. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. You're going to do the dungeon normally and defeat the first boss. If you've never done the first boss, the biggest thing to look out for is when you cast interrogation on the target, you'll get like a red arrow over your head and you have to run away from the boss, and your group has to kill the cell that you're stuck in before the boss reaches you and you die. Also, the boss will toss your weapon aside and you have to like run through it to be able to attack again because it like silences you or something. And he also has like a shield behind him which constantly rotates around the fight and you can't attack through it. Also dodge all the twirly sabers. Now once the boss is dead, your group will head into the next area and you want to head down the first set of stairs and then take a right. Go into the corner over here where there is a questionable trader. That's his name. Everyone in your group has to purchase the fraudulent credentials from him. Then continue on, and you'll head to the next area where you do a little trading minigame. You need one person to talk to Zydurid, I think that's his name, to buy whatever item he's selling, and the item will appear on the ground to pick up. Then you need to deliver the correct item to the correct broker by clicking the extra action button, all while your group fends off enemies that are fixated on the player who's doing the trading. The Dusty Skull gets brought to the Fossil Collector, the Bolt of Silk is brought to the Expert Tailor, the Replica of Remornia is brought to the Magical Weapons Trader. Then there's a few others that you need to figure out, but once you complete the segment, the last trader will give you the password. Then you have someone tell the bouncer at the door what the password is, and you move into the room with the second boss. But we're not going to kill the second boss. Once you enter Mize's Oasis, you'll take a left down the stairs, and you want to now put on your necklace that you purchased earlier and speak to Manal. Complete his dialogue, and he'll give you the Passively Forged Credentials. Now you've completed the setup. So now for the actual hard mode dungeon. You can do the hard mode dungeon in the same week as the setup. All you need to do is have someone drop the group and they get on an alt, invite that alt, and make sure they're the party lead. Then they typically, I believe that they do have to have Tazavesh unlocked because I think that they need to reset all instances by right clicking on their portrait and they have to walk in the instance. I think that's how you reset instances. But once that's done, they can log back on the character that they want to actually do the hard mode on. Now when you enter, do not walk forward yet until everyone is in, because if you walk too far forward, you'll trigger the RP of the dungeon and miss out on starting hard mode. Then you just have to reset the instance again, which isn't really that big of a deal. So once the instance is reset and that person is back on their main to do the hard mode and have everyone enter the dungeon and equip your item level 200 necklaces you got, once you do all that, use the effect that the necklace has and it'll turn you into a broker. You then want to speak to this NPC Fetajid at the start of the instance, and you have now activated hard mode. So now everyone may walk forward to trigger the RP. Once you enter the first part of the dungeon, all the brokers will be friendly, or at least neutral to you. So you just walk over to the first boss. For the first boss, you want your group to hug the wall as tightly as possible because you're going to be fighting this boss with none of the trash killed. So you don't want that trash to come into the fight at all. You can then have someone talk to the boss to start the encounter. So for hard mode, you'll have to fight Portalmancer Zohan as well. So when the fight starts, use Heroism or Bloodlust and blow up the Portalmancer first. Now once he's dead, Zofex is the same as on non-hard mode. You just have a lot less space to work with. So take him out one side of the room, and if you get interrogation, run to the other side. And then make sure to not pull the extra trash when you go to like retrieve your weapon. Now once he's dead, you can equip your main necklace to move to the next boss. You do not need to wear your special necklace anymore. So there's nothing special that has to be done between bosses for hard mode, so don't worry about messing anything up. It's literally just the bosses are more difficult. Oh, and dying or wiping will not mess up hard mode either, so don't worry about that. Just do the trader puzzle again and get into Mize's Oasis for the next boss. And now on the stage, you want everyone to grab an instrument to engage the boss. And for hard mode, you'll want your tank to grab the guitar and your healer to grab the drums, typically, and I'll explain why in a minute. Then you need to use your extra action buttons to hit the notes around you. It does give you a haste buff, and you'll face a wave of Oasis security guards. Just take them out, it's pretty easy. Now the next set of enemies are band members that you just replaced. This is the hard mode portion of the fight. Each band member will fixate a player based on the instrument they picked. Vilt hits the hardest and does an AoE cone. He fixates the guitar player, which is why your tank picked that one up, and Hips hits the lightest and fixates the drums. Take them out and take out the boss Zogron. Now head over to the mailroom mayhem for the third boss. So the postmaster's main mechanic in the fight is unstable goods, which was actually glitched for my group when we attempted this. Therefore we zerg DPS to the boss before we had to deal with that mechanic. Essentially what it is the boss will throw out bombs. These bombs need to be picked up and thrown in the activated mail tunnels. You'll know which tunnel is activated because the lights beside it will turn blue instead of red. The hard mode mechanic for this boss is when you pick up the unstable goods, it will actually root you. So you have to throw it to another member and pretty much play hot potato until it gets to the tunnel. Now you can do all of that, or alternatively you can just 1 tank and 4 DPS the fight. And if you have enough DPS plus heroism or bloodlust, you just kill the boss before the first set of bombs explode. Head to the Great Menagerie for the 4th boss. The hard mode mechanic for this boss just makes it more of a DPS check. So it's a 3 boss encounter. As soon as you start on all crooks, the next boss will come out 30 seconds later. Now in hard mode, that 30 seconds doesn't start until the first boss reaches 40% health, therefore creating more of a DPS check. For all crooks, there's not a whole lot you have to deal with, just run away from him when he puts a big blue circle on him and dodge the other blue circles in the fight. Then when Achillite pops out, he will emit blue circles out of him, and if you have Gluttony on you, which is like a dark blue wave thing emitting from you, pick up the blue circles and you get a damage boost. Then get out of the group, you have the big blue circle on you. On hard mode, Venza Gold Fuse will appear 30 seconds after Achillite appears. For her, get away from her when she swirls around in a circle and starts to pull you in, then take her out to finish the fight. So Zombie is the 5th boss of the dungeon. So you'll see shapes move around the encounter. At a certain point, he'll divide the encounter and cast Shuri on a location. This is an expanding ring that will kill you if you touch it. You want to look at the ring and see what shapes are located inside of it. Then you want to run into those shapes on your side of the field and then teleport you to the inside of the ring, therefore dodging the mechanic. Then at a certain point, he'll divide the encounter into 4 sections. So sometimes it's a puzzle to figure out which shape to go through to dodge the ring. But that's not even the biggest mechanic of the fight. On hard mode, Sazami will teleport to a location and cast triple technique. On non-hard mode, I believe it's double technique. You need your group to immediately interrupt the cast or to wipe, and you have to do it 3 times back to back, hence it being called triple technique. So find whatever shape will get you to the boss to interrupt, and that's the fight. Boss 6 is Heilbrand. Before the fight, you'll want to mark 4 consoles in each corner of the room, and this boss takes coordination. So through the fight, there will be this beam that fixates players. You need to just immediately start running if it's on you, or you'll die. There will be ads that spawn through the fight which need to be killed. On hard mode, a Stormbound Breaker ad spawns, and his Lightning Nova ability needs to be interrupted because it does a lot of group-wide damage. Now when the boss reaches 100 energy, he will run to the center and not be attackable. You want 4 different people in your group to grab 1 of the 4 orbs around the center. Then you need the 5th person to interact with the console at the head of the room. The console at the head of the room will tell you which console each rune that the players have grabbed goes to. So that console person needs to coordinate with the group, hence the extra coordination. So do that before the room fills up with yellow ground stuff, and just repeat the process to down the boss. Now, welcome back to BFA. We're at boss number 7, Time Captain Hooktail. So this is a typical Pirate Dragon boss with a frontal cone and a tail sweep. There's a lot of ads that spawn through the fight that need to be gathered by your tank. Any misdirects are super helpful here. The boss does a frontal cone, AoE cone, and your tank needs to use this to kill all of the ads that keep spawning through the encounter, so your DPS can focus more damage on the boss. Now in hard mode, she spawns these blue circles that really only slow you if you walk through them. This really doesn't make the fight more difficult in my opinion, and in some cases it makes it easier because the blue circles can be used by your tank to slow the ads, as well as another mechanic in the encounter which will hook around a person from the ship and pull you pretty hard towards it, and if you reach the ship you'll die, but you can use the blue circles to slow your movement speed so you don't die. But that's really the whole boss. Now for Solia, the final boss of the dungeon. So for phase 1 of the encounter, she'll summon a couple of assassins. Just bring these into melee to kill them. They do cast some assassin ability, which does need to be interrupted. Now there is a collapsing star that spawns and will spawn multiple times through the encounter. It has 4 charges to it. Your group has about 25 seconds to get rid of all of those charges by walking into it to lower its radius. Now when it's walked into, it will drag everyone towards it for a few seconds, which is one of the hard mode mechanics of it. It will also pulse AoE damage. Now the same person can't really run into it 2 times while it's up, because it does put a debuff on you that increases the damage of the next application for like 10 seconds or whatever. But anyways, we just had our tank take the first 2 hits of it, because tanks typically can. Then I took the 3rd hit, and we had another person take the 4th hit, making sure everyone is healed up in between each hit. Now when she reaches 40% health, it's phase 2. She'll spawn 5 of these stars around her, heal fully, and grow in size. Once she knocks the stars back, she takes no damage, so you need each member of your group to stand behind a different star as she casts Hyperlight Jolt, making sure that your red arrow goes through the star. Don't stand in the circle under the star, you need to stand behind it. This will allow the jolt to hit all 5 of the stars at the same time. This is another hard mode mechanic actually. All 5 of these stars do have to be hit at the same time, or you have to just do it again while your group takes extra AoE damage. Therefore, you do need all 5 players to be alive in your group for this mechanic to work. Once all 5 stars have been hit, she'll become attackable, and then a bunch of yellow missiles will shoot out of the stars. You need to make sure to dodge those. These stars will then explode as well, with big circles around them, so watch out for those. And just to really mess things up, another collapsing star spawns. Anyways, you pretty much have to repeat everything I've just said, and she will eventually die. And then you'll get the Fake It Till You Make It achievement, as well as the mount, the Tazavesh Gearglider. So there you have it, a guide to the Tazavesh dungeon while also doing hard mode. Also, Solia has a chance to drop another mount, but you don't have to do hard mode for that. Anyways guys, that's the entire video. If you enjoyed it or found it helpful at all, you can feel free to leave a like on it. You can sub to the channel for more videos like this, and I will see you guys in the next video.